so did everyone get see the announcement for the research participation? Were you guys able to reach out? Anybody complete any of the research participation today? All right, remember, I like for you to at least do one of them, and then you can write the paper for the other, right? If you wanna do 3 research participations, you can. It might be easier for you if you don't feel like writing. But, even if you do one, at least do a summary, right? So at least do a summary of the research participation that you participated in. And it can be very short. You can do a paragraph and just send it over to me, just so I know which study you were in. All right, we're gonna continue our discussion on motivation and emotions. Last class, we kind of started off with an ideological or philosophical idea of our mind frames and our mind states and how powerful the human mind is. And we understood that the mind is a concept, right? The brain is a piece of matter. But actually, what is mind? Who here could give me a definition of mind? What is a mind? What is a mind? We could say that a mind is a state of being. Right? State of being. State of existence. Your current state of existence. What is your current mind frame right now? We understood that the mind, essentially, even thoughts are not located just in the brain, right? So we may be under impression that the mind and thoughts are just located in the human brain, like the central processing unit, which is not true, right? The mind sends signals all over through your body for certain actions, right? So you have your cells and these chemical signals that are sent all over your body. Therefore, the mind is the body. The mind is throughout the entire human body. Then we learn that the mind and thoughts are not even located just in the human body, right? You think your mind is just encapsulated within your human physiological self? No. We understand that the mind can actually radiate and manifest. We have scientific proof from magnetoencephalographs, right? Which are probes, not even touching the body, that can sense brain activity and functions all throughout the body. Right? So therefore you can radiate. That's a very hard concept to kind of understand because it seems a little bit supernatural or whatever, but we have proof of that, right? Which means that we're kind of radio signals to communicate with one another. And so today we'll discuss the end part of motivations and get into emotions. Who here saw what happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock last night? Tell me what happened.
Chris Rock made a joke about Will Smith's wife and what was the triangle.
Why did Will Smith get up and slap Chris Rock?
He got offended.
He got offended. And him being offended by him to get up out of his chair, casually walk up there.
And smacked me.
Right? Okay.
I couldn't go.
Do battery on somebody in front of what, 75 million people, however many was watching, and walk back. What was Will Smith's mind frame?
I mean,
What could we assume, right? We just made some assumptions because we're not in his brain. But yes.
But we see as he made the joke, the camera went on the wife and Will Smith, and he was totally laughing.
Word.
But the wife was totally serious.
So Will Smith went from actually having an outburst to the joke, seeing his wife's facial expressions, right? Seeing his wife's facial expression that communicated something to Will Smith. Oh crap, I need to do something, right? It triggered him, right? And this trigger led him, once again, casually walk up to the stage, slide Chris Rock, walk back to the seat, and they continued on with the show. He even gave a speech for winning Best Actor for whatever movie that was, right? Could we say that Will Smith couldn't control his emotions?
Definitely.
Right? Because he had to make a decision, right? A conscious decision to walk up there. Was he thinking about the consequences after? Do we think?
I don't think so.
Right? So, not thinking about it goes to state of being. Being just means the present moment. Will Smith, or anybody, let's say, who saw the story with the CTA employee shooting the guy, anyone saw that one? Yeah, so one of the guys at 95th Street Red Line Station, an employee there got into it with, a customer, whatever. The customer pushed him to the ground. It was an older guy, the worker, and took him a few seconds, reached in his pocket. He had a gun on him. The guy ran down the escalator and he shot him, going down the escalator. Right? One, he wasn't supposed to have a gun on CTA premises. He works here. It's illegal. Two, the guy is no longer a threat, right? The guy ran. No longer a threat. And three, he made a conscious choice at that point in time to shoot this guy running down the escalator, which is illegal, right? You're no longer posed a threat. You can't claim self-defense. And so the guy has an attempted murder charge on him. Probably, he's 50-some years old. He might serve the rest of his life in jail. Which means that present state, he didn't think about anything other than that situation. He didn't think about his family, think about his job, losing any money, anything about people recording it for evidence, like all these different things. Which tells us that emotions are extremely, extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. Right? And some people have a high control over their emotions. Some people do not. Right? And those can have very positive impacts in life, but very negative. So let me ask you, from your own mouth, from your own brain, your own thoughts, what is an emotion? What is an emotion?
It's the way someone feels.
Okay, that's a good place to start. Emotions, feelings. Is that it?
Facial expression. The facial expression.
And where do the facial expressions come from?
It depends on the situation.
Yeah, reacting to something.
Yeah.
You said it depends, right?
Yeah.
Which means context, right? Emotions are both, think of it as both, you're talking about feelings, but feelings are essentially internal sensations, right? I feel, which means it kind of goes to our sensations, right? this right now? How could you express it to me? Like, I feel depressed. What does that mean? Right? So emotions are not one thing. Emotions are a series or state of beings, of mental processes acting on one another. If you say you were depressed, there's probably several reasons why you're depressed. Right? They could be physiological, they could be environmental. Bless you. There's a whole host of reasons of why one could have depression. There's a whole host of reasons why one could be extremely happy. So let's not think of emotions as just one thing located internally. It also exists externally, right? Which means context, in which things are, environment, et cetera, et cetera. Now, before I get back straight into emotions, I want to get back to motivation, right? So we kind of ended off at Maslow's. Everybody has a pretty sound idea of Maslow's. We talked about maybe where you are right now, right? Let's say here, because you already have these, right? You're not dying of hunger or thirst. Your parents or yourself providing safety. Society, you're in a safe society, pretty stable compared to other societies. Belongingness and love needs. Some of you may actually be up here, okay? But I'm not sure of this part. Which is indicators to like, hey, why are you going to school? Why are you guys here? What are you doing here? Like, seriously speaking, like, what are you doing here? Have you thought about why you are here at Concordia University? What are you doing here?
Get an education, play athletics, get away from home.
So just to be outside the house and to get get a quote unquote.
I mean, it's also different for everyone here. It's also different for everyone else here.
No, absolutely. But speaking for self, like, what are you doing here? You're at Concordia, give me the reason. Like, you know, your deep processes when you were like, yeah, I want to go to college, I'm going to go to Concordia, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, what was your real analysis? You're going to Concordia. Why are you here?
Getting a fresh start. Getting away from gangs, drugs. All the
Okay.
bullshit that wasn't gonna let me finish education.
Let's say all of that is change of environment, right? I mean, I need to change your environment. This is a different environment. There's a lot of different people in this environment. There's a lot of different concepts in this environment. So one reason could be change of environment. Who else got another personal reason why they're here? What are you doing here at Concordia School? Like, what's your real sense of purpose of being here? Other than just like, oh, I just want to go to school and get that degree. Is the degree gonna make you feel a way about yourself after you get it? I mean, it might, right? You might compare yourself to others who don't have a degree. You might be like, oh yeah, I got my bachelor's, right? People wanna feel better about themselves. Who here feels great about themselves? Feel like you're right where you need to be right now. Anybody? You guys don't feel great? Why?
I'm telling you, I feel the greatest. I'm nowhere where I want to be.
And there we go. Where do you wanna be?
It's like, I don't really have a limit. It's like, if I get here, then I can keep going.
But what's the purpose of doing that stuff in your brain? You've concocted in your brain of what you wanna be, right? Perception of self. Let's say you look in the mirror, you look at self today, and you're like, that's not it. That's not the greatest me.
Right.
But I'm saying why? Why is self today not the greatest you? In reference to what?
cause I know cause I know my potential, like, I know what can't obviously be just that me being passed on. My eyes, my beard, my mind.
But is it in reference to things in society? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you say, hey, it's a reference to money
Right.
that you don't have, that others may have. It's in reference to fame that you don't have, that somebody else got, right? It's in reference to a house that you don't have, somebody else got.
It can be that. It's just it's like multiple stuff. Like for example, sport. Like I want to be like one of the best football players at school. Like that's not gonna happen. So I gotta work on it. Another thing, I want to better my mind space. So that's really I'm just, you know.
Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying, but also think, remember we said 3 basic components that pretty much everybody agrees on, because we could come up with 1,000 more. We need to live, right? We need to eat, sleep, breathe, right? Sustenance. This is just natural, or else you're gonna die. So this is not like, hey, I thought about this, or this was my, perception of the greatest me. This is just like, this is nature. And nature doesn't care about that stuff, right? Society cares about that stuff, or the person in reference to society cares about. Sex. Nature just say, hey, why do you exist? So you can make another person to keep the species going. That's nature. I mean, how many ants when you go see outside on the ground? How many bees? It has to keep going, right? To do their role in the space of the universe on planet Earth. And the other part is socialization. We want to belong. We want to belong, which is conscious. Remember we said we only operate on 10% conscious on the day, 90% is unconscious. I mean, you're not thinking about it, right? So stuff you truly feel, this might be hard for a person to actually dig deep to back. Oh, let me break it up here so I can actually really think about it. That's the unconscious, right? The subconscious, which, people go to therapy for and try to understand. We try to understand our state of mind. Hey, why am I depressed? Why am I happy? Why am I, traumatized? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that third part is critical. We need to belong, which means the world created systems, a system of currency. Now we got a new one, crypto and NFTs, right? Used to be gold coins or just trading for a carpet for an apple. It doesn't matter. That's just a creation, correct? It's a human creation, right? So which means that we are in reference to things made up by other people. So in reference to, I want to be great. I mean, you gotta have a measuring stick. Well, give me a definition of great. I want to be like such and such. Right, okay, now we got somewhere. You want to do like such and such because X, Y, Z. Society says such and such has get this amount of money, this popular, this famous, this powerful, et cetera, right? Or even sports, when we do like LeBron James or something like that, would be the greatest. Cristiano Ronaldo. So the last part is critical. We are constantly referencing ourselves to the external world. Constantly. You're here so you probably could get a job, call it a career, buy a house, have a decent car, travel around the world, have a family, do some stuff, right? And how you feel about that stuff is probably in reference to society, right? We measure people all the time. That person's a loser, that person's great, that person sucks, that person. We do it all the time, every day. Constant reference to people, calling people to go. Grace all the time in life. A reference to something that people made up, right? That has nothing to do with true self. True self is when you remove all that stuff and say, hey, this is just stuff. I gotta have that. But then as you get older, you realize this is just stuff, right? It's stuff. Will it bring you happiness? Probably not. Most of the data or the research out there shows absolutely not. People who become billionaires kill themselves, right? What is it? Why? Because money don't bring people happiness. That's you buy your 15 Bentley or Rolls Royce, it's just, at that point, it's just a car. Doesn't do anything for you, right? Which is maybe some of you may be here, esteem needs. I need to build myself up. I need to be great. I want to start that company so I could feel great about myself. Why do you want to feel great about yourself in reference to who? Who are you measuring your measuring stick? This could be your parents, could be like, you know, it could be your parents or your family. Like, hey, out of my family, I was the only one to do this, so there's my measuring stick. I want to be great in compared to my family. I don't want to be like the rest of them. I want to do great stuff. Which is need and recognition and respect from others. Hence we have social media, right? We need to be recognized and we want to be respected. Will Smith felt that he was disrespected. He wanted to, I guess, get respect, and he thought that using physical violence was a tool to get respect. Probably he's gonna regret it for a very, very long time, because we said emotions are a state of being, right? Internal and external state of being happening on one another. They give feelings, and if you don't control your feelings, you do crazy, crazy stuff, and then you regret it, right? You shoot somebody because of an argument, you regret it later. Now you got time to sit in jail, right? You do something to harm others, you steal money, whatever the case may be, or you deceive people, you will probably regret it once there's actual consequence to it. Right, and as we move up, so now you've made all the money, you feel great about yourself, everything is hunky-dory, and now self-actualization needs to live up to our fullest and unique potential. Right? We come to that. And then we started creating our own measuring stick based off of us. It's not a reference to anyone else, no longer at that point. The measuring stick is us within the context of the world. Right? We start to come into our own. We start to know who we are. We stop comparing ourselves to others. You start comparing yourself to you in the world we live. Beyond that, self-transcendence. So that's the top. Actually, I used to list this as the top, which was self-actualization. This has been increased to self-transcendence. Need to find meaning and identity beyond the self. So once you've amassed all that, you start to find out who you are. Now you want to go beyond self, which it probably means, there's an old book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's an old book. Basically about this guy, he's super wealthy, he had Ferraris, he had pleasure, he had a big house, all this stuff. Found out none of that stuff made him happy, it actually made him feel worse about himself as he went on. He sold everything, became a monk. Right? Because he realized that stuff has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with him. These are just things, right? Things break, things rust, and things need to be maintained. Right? More money, more problems. Why is that? More things, more problems. Which goes back to what everyone suffers from. Everyone on earth suffers from what we talked about last class with Nietzsche. Angst, or as we call it in English, anxiety. We all suffer from anxiety all the time. And we said anxiety is boredom, because you need to escape boredom. Anxiety is school, anxiety is family, anxiety is money, anxiety is love, right? So we all suffer with anxiety, and that calls us to be motivated to do something else about it, right? So if you're bored, you're gonna find something to do. So we talked about affiliation, which is belonging, right? social isolation, we don't wanna be isolated from people. Performance, we talk about sports, self-esteem, colors, thoughts, and emotions. Confidence, autonomy, relatedness, self-determination. Ostracism, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, social exclusion. We don't wanna be ostracized, we wanna be part of a group. You don't wanna be kicked out of your friends group for being changing, and you've changed, we don't wanna hang out with you. It causes a lot of stress and anxiety. We all wanna feel a sense of belonging, even with family. Pain, corrective action, pain motivates for us to act, right? Positive and negative remedies. Here they talk about mobile networks. Social media provides information and supportive connections among friends and family. Activate reward centers, right? You go on social media, you get a like, you feel rewarded. You watch how many people view your content, you get rewarded. You feel a sense of reward, a sense of pride about something. Matchmaking is used for it. Predict longer life with use in moderation. Enable comparisons that can create envy and depression. So social media is comprised of anxiety. There'll always be something else you want that somebody else got. A person, clothing, cars. They're traveling someplace you're not, and then you constantly wonder, hey, how come I'm not there? I wish I could do that. I don't have the money to do that. Anxiety, right? Depression. I'm not good enough. Because I look on Instagram and I see all these different people doing all this stuff and everybody's life is perfect on social media. Right? So, envy and depression, because it's a fake world. In essence, it's a fake world. People could be doing real things, but it's still fake because it shows the perfect picture of everything. Support narcissistic tendencies. Balance and focus, we say yin and yang, right? The bell curve, life is means in between. Balance is key, right? You don't wanna take cocaine. Why? Because that could be the optimal pleasure. There's a consequence to taking cocaine, which is extreme consequences, very negative. So you're like, hey, well, what's the balance, Professor Ross? Drink a cup of coffee, drink a Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, right? Used to be cocaine, Coca-Cola. The chemical compositions of Coca-Cola. Optimal pleasure is not always good, so balance is key. Neither is the least amount of pleasure good. Monitor time, monitor feelings, which is being conscious, understanding your feelings. Why do I feel the way I feel? Get to the root of the problem. Therefore, you will have control. If you're not in control of your feelings, life will be full of anxiety, always, and you'll never feel great about anything. You become an extremely negative person because you don't know how to control your feelings. Your feelings run away from you. Hide from incessantly posting online, friends when necessary. There's a word missing there. Check phone and email less often when studying, refocus, and take a nature walk. These are all very good, useful tactics for balance. Right? Get outside, take a walk. The electronic world is the cyber world, which is predominantly fake, and half fake, half real. So you need to escape from it so that you can live in your real world, which is your physical world right now. Achievement motivation, we talked about that. We desire for significant accomplishment, for mastery or skills of ideas, for control and attaining a high standard. I think you guys primarily may have, a reason of being here is we do have a concept in our mind of thinking that college kind of dictates intelligence. Intelligence dictates success on the social level, right? Therefore, college and intelligence and success kind of most people perceive go hand in hand. So I think that's probably a reason why you are all here. It can dictate it. There's a lot of studies that show that it does. The people who are college educated, tend to make more money, right? There's some outliers out there, don't get me wrong. There's a guy who making the next Amazon in his basement just because he knows computer software, programming, or whatever. But those stories are also few and far between. You know, that's not the average person. The average person is not gonna be a billionaire off their next entrepreneurial idea, because entrepreneurship, most of it, 85% of businesses fail. The first one, which means there's no learning curve. You don't learn, you're still learning. So you don't just come out and hit the lottery again. Man, I get the greatest idea ever, I get the next Nike, you know, I got the next Microsoft. Like, that doesn't work that way. You know, it takes a lot of money and a lot of people involved to make anything even remotely successful. When you drive down the street and you see all these restaurants, and you're like, oh man, they seem to be doing good, right? 85, 90% of all restaurants will be out of business in 4 to 5 years. Unless they're McDonald's, unless they're Wendy's, unless they're Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts. But if you're not those, they're in the red. But we perceive people just, you know, oh, they got a business, they're doing great. Actually, those people right here, we got way more debt than you do, by not starting something, you know? So maybe their 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th idea, they may have had a learning curve and finally found success, right? Which gets to perception. Perception is one of the most powerful aspects of life, which means if you are motivated, you do have a mind of success. We just said that thoughts are not contained within the human body alone. Thoughts manifest to reality, right? So if you do have a billionaire mindset, you probably could be a billionaire, right? You could manifest these things to really happen. You can manifest energy, you can manifest motivation, you can manifest yourself to do extraordinary things based off your perception of self. If you think very low of yourself, guess what? You probably manifest very low things for yourself, right? So perception is one of the biggest factors of human life in terms of where a person is and where they will go in the future. So I always think of that, we have positive psychology, which is the field of psychology, right? Which means, are you thinking positive about things? We said 90% of cancers are not genetic. Only 10% are. Means 90% of cancers, think about this, 90% of cancers are most likely brought on by anxiety. Literally thoughts. Like, man, you made yourself sick? Yeah, your thoughts did. You made yourself feel better? Yeah, my thoughts did. The doctor gave me a horrible diagnosis. But I didn't accept that. I rejected that. You can. And your thoughts are that powerful that they can change your cells, because your cells and other parts of your body are containing the information. So if you're thinking negatively, guess what you're telling your cells to do? Like, hey, we're sick. Your cells are like, okay, we're sick, I guess we'll start dying off. Okay, now you make yourself more sick. So think about how remarkable we are with this conscious brain that we have, right? To manifest health, manifest things in the world we want to accomplish, right? Manifesting it. We said we're like radio signals to the world, which is sometimes your ear rings, you feel like people are talking about you. Like, wow, that's weird. It's not weird. We're like a radio signal, right? We're communicating. Even right now, you guys are communicating with each other and you don't even know it. Which means, remember we said 90% unconscious, 10% conscious. The stuff you think about right now is just that 10%. The other 90 is stuff you learn along the way, conditional, all these other factors. Any questions? So yes, you can be as great as you want. It kind of sounds cliche, right? Be as great as you want, as you think. How do you perceive yourself? That's what we call confidence, right? Do you have the confidence to be the next president of the United States? I guarantee if you really wanted to, you probably have a good shot. You seen some of the other people up there before? Right? You can be anything. But then that's what separates people. You're like, wow, how did that person achieve? Well, they probably see themselves like that, right? Somebody may see themselves very ordinary. Another person might see themselves very extraordinary. I can do anything. I'm Superman. And if you go with that mindset, right, your physiology believes in it, your cells start to believe in it, you start to manifest it, it radiates from you, and that's what separates great people. We don't want to call them great, right, because that's a whole social thing, right? We don't want to measure greatness, but to the self, that's what separates, you know, maybe your perception of what's great and what's not, you know? Hey man, that person's great. Like, why can I do it that you can't? Trust me. Unless you have any sort of real mental deficiency or brain damage, I think we're pretty much set with the same sort of material to do the same stuff. Which means that most people went into things, they're just motivated to go in there. Others weren't motivated to go in there. Another key part of that motivation for success is agreeableness. You'll have a job and you'll have a boss or a manager. Anybody, why is that person boss? Or why am I just an employee? Which has to go with agreeableness, right? How agreeable are you to everything that's taught you? How agreeable are you to everything that people tell you to do? Like, okay, I'll do it. That doesn't make great leaders, and it doesn't make great managers, and doesn't make great bosses, right? Bosses are people who don't agree. Not in the sense that it's toxic, but there are people who have to question everything. Which means they have probably less likelihood to care about what others think than a person who's very agreeable. Right? Agreeable is your perception to want to be liked by others. You know, put on a smile, you think, when you probably feel completely opposite about that. Right? That's what we said. Remember, being true to self leads to actual manifestation of self-transcendence and self-actualization. Setting goals, set concrete goals, share goals with family. That stuff's pretty self-explanatory. Hunger, we got to do. Let's skip over and get straight to emotions. Theories